Hey, great Monday evening. Great Monday, everyone. It is a Dr. Anissa Short once again with Conversations with Chosen Pen. Thank you so much for carving out time this Monday to watch us live or to watch the replay. As I've always said in the past, we appreciate your time. We don't take it for granted that you support us and follow us. Don't forget to like, comment, and share because this community is growing and we want it to grow more and more in 2024. Before we get started with our series, our continuation of the series, the summer reading series, that is, I want to say thank you once again for supporting us on August 3rd. That was the event we had to emphasize the importance of childhood literacy. And I want to thank you in advance for letting all your friends and family know who have written books in the last 2 years that Chosen Pen is hosting a literary awards gala on December 7th. It's going to be a fantastic event to celebrate the work of authors near and far, and nominations are being accepted right now. You can submit your book of fiction, nonfiction, your book of poetry, your young adult books, or your children's books through chosenpen.com. Simply go to our website. The admission or the submission fee is only $25 per book, and you can submit one book in each genre. Get excited. Can you get excited? The book must be written, however, in the last 2 years, and it can be an indie author, self-publisher. It can be published with another company. We don't have any respect of persons when it comes to who published your book. We want as many people to get the recognition they so deserve. We're going to have a first, second, and third, or a gold, silver, bronze a nominee or I should say winner in each category. And then for those of you who don't make it to the bronze, the gold, silver, or bronze levels, you will receive feedback as to why. So it'll be a learning experience for those of you, especially if you are, let's say, a novice when it comes to publishing. There are things that we learn in the journey, and we want to be a part of that journey to support you so that when you pursue the publishing of your next book, you'll be better prepared. So again, find us on chosenpen.com. Everything you need to know. Look at the literary awards. Nominations are being accepted right now. The cutoff is September 7th. September 7th. And then on the first Saturday in December, which is December 7th, if I'm correct, that evening we're going to have a holiday literary awards gala. You get to dress up. We're going to have the red carpet. There'll be dinner. There'll be music. There'll be an opportunity for you to get the recognition you so deserve. So I'm excited about the submissions. Your book deserves recognition. Don't forget the deadline is September 7th. So without further ado, I want you all to meet my friend, Miss Nanette Buchanan. She is an author, a mom, I don't know if she uses grandma or Gigi or Mimi, but we got all these variations now. Hi, Miss Nanette. Thank you again for hanging out with us today.
Hi, how are you?
I'm excellent. What about you?
I'm good. I'm good.
Well, tell everybody a little bit about Miss Nanette. I can give them my version, but I want them to hear it from you directly.
As you said, I'm a mom. I'm a wife. I'm a G-ma is the
G-mom.
term.
Okay.
I have grandchildren, and I live now in Fayetteville, North Carolina. I retired 6 years ago from the Department of Corrections in New Jersey as a sergeant in the department in an all-male facility, as well as being an instructor at the academy. And then I got promoted to sergeant, where I was a supervisor in the hospital. So I've worked all three fields under male institutions, with them being incarcerated.
Gotcha.
My journey in corrections started when I was at the Boys Club. I started out at the Boys and Girls Club working with children. I love working with children. So I started working with children, and a lot of them were being torn between the neighborhood gangs and the neighborhood changing. And I decided that maybe if I went on that side of the realm, I could set up programs and try to deter them from having that be a lifelong skill, them getting involved in the opposite side of the tracks. So I wound up going into corrections. And from that, I learned so much more into teaching and learning and going into different programs with domestic violence, suicide prevention, stress management. I became a lead instructor in a lot of areas that were more important to life than just being in corrections. It was more important to just the living of the officers, the living of the inmates, as well as people in the community. So I decided to spread that out a bit.
It sounds like you wanted to be an answer to the problem and not just complain about it.
Yes, and not just an employee.
Right. I love
Right.
it.
Not just an employee. I needed to have something to give.
Yes, ma'am.
And a part of the giving, I had been writing all along, but I was writing for myself.
Gotcha.
Because of course, working in that type of environment, you need an outlet.
Okay.
So with reading being one of the outlets, writing was one of my outlets from college. And I started out with poetry and children's stories just for me, just, you know, something that I wanted to do. And I did read, you know, a couple of the children's stories with my children, and they would write little pieces that they thought should be added in. And we would enjoy that. That would be a Friday activity. However, in 2007, we had a situation in our family that just was so outlandish that my husband was like, that sounds like a movie. It should be a book or something, because nobody would believe that this is going on. And I told him, I said, yeah, well, it happens. It's, you know, people don't talk much about it, but he said, well, they should, because they should know about, you know, family lineage and knowing who your relatives are. And what about if you married one or that? Well, since it touched him, he wanted to make a spill about it. And he kept saying it over and over and over again. He said, I just believe that you could write a book about this.
Is that where it all started? That's kind of where.
That's where it all started.
Okay, so before we go there, let's back up, because I want people to know we're going to talk about your more recent book, the one that's been recently released, although you have a plethora of stories to tell. Mm-hmm. But you and I met in Fayetteville soon after you moved to Fayetteville, if I remember. From what you tell me. So it was at a networking event. If anyone is watching and taking notes, you need to go to networking events, because that's where you can build your network, right? People won't know who you are, what you do, and what you have to offer if you stay behind the four walls of your home. So we met at a networking event. And if you hadn't already picked up, Dr. I like to talk, and Miss Nanette likes to talk. So at the networking event, we did a lot of talking. And so at that time, she introduced me to her IPEN magazine. Now, the magazine and your IPEN podcast are like two peas in a pod. They're companion pieces. Is that right, Doctor? Tell us, Miss Nanette, how that works. Because tell us a little bit about how I know you've written books, but IPEN is your name, your professional name, where all your books are stored, and also the magazine and the podcast. Why the magazine and podcast? Let's talk about that for a moment.
Again, I'm a giver. I'm somebody that wants the community to gain. If I can't do anything to help the community gain, it feels little to not for me.
Yeah.
You know, I don't like seeing people struggle. I know that when I started, I was going to different places, and of course you run into the scams, and you run into the problems, and you run into the finances, and then you give up on the dream. Because you can't always do what you want to do with it.
Right.
So with IPEN Podcast, what I decided was to give somebody a platform. Hey, come on a platform and say what you do, how you do it. The only stipulation I have is that you should be doing something.
Right.
If you're an entrepreneur, what do you do? If you can't tell me what you do, then you're not doing anything.
Right.
You should be doing something. There's something to what you're doing.
And who are you doing that things happen, right?
And who are you doing it for?
Right.
You know, there's a lot of people that, you know, they tell you to distinguish between hobby and business. And people don't really understand that. The hobby you do for you. The business may be a hobby that you had, but you're now doing it for others.
That's true. That's true.
You know, so there's a difference between business and hobby. Hobby, you don't worry about the little necessities or someone smiling and saying, yes, I like it, because it's yours. But when it's the business, you want to make it be a business. You want it to be set up as a business, you know, and however long that takes you is up to you.
Right.
Because it's step by step to make sure it's there, but you just want to make sure that the business is the business.
What?
So IPEN podcast gives them a platform to come on and say what they do, how they evolve to it, and what they're doing to help their community and their audience, whoever it may be. So I give them that opportunity. And from that, if they come on the podcast, I had the magazine prior to the podcast, and COVID came and shut that down because we couldn't do printing and everything because we used to print the magazine. Well, since then, we've been invited to the digital world. So now the magazine is digital. And what happens is if you come on the podcast for a minimum fee, you can also be in the magazine. Now, this gives them a further extension, because how much do we look for, or how often, I should say, how often do we look for that extended promotion or that extended ad? So if someone is viewing you in a magazine and they got the opportunity to see you on a podcast,
right,
that's an uplifting for someone that's just starting, someone that's already been in it, or someone that's asking to be on it.
Right.
So it just helps round them off and launches them in some kind of way. And it also makes me feel good.
Miss Nanette, one of the things I absolutely love about the fact that you married those two together is the added benefit, because whenever there is an author or entrepreneur that chooses to be a part of your platform, you communicate with them the importance of a quality headshot. You emphasize the importance of them having a digital platform, whether that be a website or a landing page. You emphasize the importance of them having a social media page, because if they're going to be on your podcast, if they're going to be featured in your magazine, they must be prepared to represent with excellence, but also to have a place where people can connect with them. And so
exactly.
And a lot of times those who are new don't know. They don't know what they don't know.
And the benefit of it is you're on the podcast by yourself. So it's, it's a 1-on-3, because I do have a co-host, but it's a 1-on-3 atmosphere for an hour. Mm-hmm. You get to talk about what you do, how you do, who you share with, what your audience is.
Right.
But the more important thing is, in the magazine, you get a 2-page article. You also can get a promotional page where whatever your goods are, I'm going to put your goods there. It's a quarterly magazine.
Right.
It runs for 3 months.
It's a plus.
Now, here's the catch. You're not in the magazine by yourself. There's 4 or 5 other people. So you not only have your audience, you have their audience.
So smart.
Now you branched out even further. So if you come in with what you want, I'm not looking for half of the money that you made half the year.
Right.
It's not about that. This is your first lift.
Right.
And hopefully this lift will take you to the next level. Yeah. And that's what I'm looking for.
I love it. That's one of the things I absolutely loved about your magazine when you were doing the print. It was quality. It was awesome. It had a great presence about it. And then, of course, I've been a part of your community, your podcast community, and, of course, been a purchaser of some of your books. We're going to get to those in a minute. That comment, my mom, as you already know, is one of your biggest fans, and she is still waiting. If she knew I was interviewing you right now, she'd probably be peeking in going, when is that next book going to be out? But I love the fact that you are not just a published author yourself, but you're working and you've created a platform to be able to support other authors and or entrepreneurs. And let me just say this. An author is an entrepreneur, whether you realize it or not.
Yes.
Many people don't see themselves in that light, but they are. As soon as you write a book, you've opened a business. And so with that in mind, you absolutely must not do yourself the disservice of not putting things in place that need to be. And so when you connect with people like Chosen Pen Publishing, IPEN Publishing, myself, Miss Nanette, we will assist you with not only producing a quality product, but to also make sure that you represent with excellence as a business owner. So thank you, Miss Nanette, for that piece of the puzzle to what you offer. Let's talk a little bit now. Let's shift gears and talk about this new book. Now, for those of you who don't know, Dr. Norma, of course, extends her regards. She couldn't be here for this free recording, but we're all a family here, really. Miss Nanette is much of Chosen Pen as we are IPEN, and we see each other almost at every event, so we're all there together. But one of the things I will say is that your books tell real stories.
Yes.
So it's not,
Yes.
it's a work of fiction, but it really isn't fiction because when people read it, they can relate. What is the term
Yes.
you use, Miss Nanette, to describe it?
Reality fiction.
Okay, reality fiction.
Reality fiction. And the reason that I chose that was from that very first book.
Okay, I
That
got
very
you.
first book was a reality slap in the face to my husband, his family, and everybody else because they had a secret about a child who was younger than his youngest sibling, but nobody wanted to tell this woman that she was related to them.
Oh wow.
And the thing was, she was working on my job. She had
So
been working on my she had been working on my job 10 years before she even said anything.
so did
And
she
when
knew who you all were, but you all didn't know who she was?
no, she knew that there was a possibility.
Gotcha.
And when she came to work, she had just had a brand new baby.
Mm-hmm.
And she came to work and said, I want to talk to you about your husband. I almost flipped my wig. I was
Because
like,
you like,
what?
okay, sister.
What?
You could have found
But
another way to do that intro, right?
she stopped me. She said, no, 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 no. I think he's my brother. And if not, I'm going to go to another person with the last name Buchanan and find out if they're related.
Oh
And
wow.
I immediately said to her, there's no need to go to the other person because that's his cousin.
Right. So you know it was family
So
regardless.
you're in
Right.
the family
Some
somewhere.
kind of way, right? Well, you
Right.
know,
So the family didn't like it and they
why?
made excuses and because this was a child after the marriage had broken up
Gotcha. Okay. I got you.
and they didn't like it. So the title Family Secrets, Lies, and Alibis was exactly what we got when we went to get the information. From that point on, I told my husband that I didn't want to write any more novels, that I was not writing any more books because that was a lot of work.
Yeah.
And it took a lot to, get it published and get it done. And
Gotcha.
I had to split it into 2 books because I had written a Stephen King book, with all of these pages, trying to capture everything that they felt
Yeah, I
and
got
what
you.
they were going through.
And then because you knew the storyline, you wanted to give homage to a
Exactly.
proper representation.
And he simply just said, no, you're going to continue to write because stories like this
Need to
help
be
people.
told. It does. It really
He
does.
said it helps. Yeah, he said it. He said it helps people when they sit by themselves and they read.
Right.
He said maybe it'll bring up some points that they never thought about, but was going on in their life.
You know what, Miss Nanette, the thing that you're saying, it was the first of the year that my husband found out he has a brother that's 12 years younger than him. It was like January or something like that. And so he's on the phone talking to this man. I'm not sure who he is, right? And he goes, babe, look, I'm talking to my brother. And I go, brother. So I knew he was an only child, but his father, of course,
Right.
Like women.
Right.
So
Right.
so we meet his biological brother in February. So I've been married to my husband now 26 years. As far as I know, he's the only child. So now I have a brother-in-law and a sister-in-law and nieces and nephews on that side. And so I was
Oh boy.
I'm like, Al, are you sure that's your brother? He says, I have no doubt in my mind. And this is why he was on the phone. I said, why? He showed me a picture. He said he looks just like
that's the same thing that happened with them. That's the
Yeah.
same thing that happened with them.
Yeah, so it happens. It's the reality of where
Yes.
we live, unfortunately. I mean, and it is what it is. You just have to deal with it. Well,
And
our transition has been good,
Exactly. So the thing was that after that, and after his comments, I started thinking about other books and other things that were going on around. And I was like, yeah, that's kind of strange. And he goes, that's a book.
It is. It is.
So I would
would
write a book and write a book and write a book. And to be honest with you, the book that your mom is waiting for
is a part of a series that's telling
is a part of that book.
Right.
It's a part of that book.
Okay, I got you.
Because like I said, when I wrote it, I had to put it in 2 parts.
Right, you did.
Well, I stopped. After the second part, I was done. And the audience came back. And for all you authors, for you to know that sometimes your audience pushes you
to do more
into writing a story or a genre that you're looking at going, nah. And they're saying, yes. So they contacted me. Quite a few people contacted me and said, listen, that story is not over. And I was like, yes, that's it. And they were like, no, it's not over. So I wrote the 3rd book. And your mom got the first
She
3.
has the first 3, right? And
She
so
got the first
and
3.
after the first 3, she says this book is not over. There has to be a
Well,
subsequent book.
not only that, I said it when I got to the end of the 3rd book.
So she's been waiting. I would like to say she's been waiting patiently. I don't know if
No,
patiently is the
well,
word.
like I said, that book is done. It is done. And I'm in the edit process for that
Okay,
book.
gotcha.
So it
Okay.
will be
It will
done
be
by
out
the end of the
soon.
year.
Okay, good.
But the thing
Excellent.
is that I just wanted to say that to any authors that are listening, that a lot of times you have to go off of the feed of your
Of
audience.
your audience. That is so true.
If
Because
your audience is
they are
looking for
your
it,
community,
right,
right? They're your community. Well,
you
let's
have
talk
to
about
listen
this
to
new
them.
book. Hold on, because wow, that one will be out in time for Christmas, hopefully.
Yes,
Thanksgiving.
yes.
So that'll be a part of my mom's Christmas stuff. But this newest book, this one, Zip Code and Justice. Now, this sounds
Yes.
like any of the storylines we could see on NYPD or
Yes.
if was a special victims SV, whatever them shows are. Tell us a little.
SUV.
This
Yes.
book just came out when last month?
Last week.
Last week. Oh wow. Okay. So tell us about Zip Code and Justice, Miss Buchanan.
I love mystery and suspense. In all the books, there is a bit of mystery and suspense. I do a little bit of romance too, but I love mystery and suspense. I don't like books or films or TV shows where I could sit there and tell what's going to go on.
Well,
If I
that's
could
because
tell,
you have a gift. You have the
yeah,
gift.
if I could tell what's going on, it's a corny movie,
Yeah.
okay, to me. So I always end the book with the thought that the reader is going to say, now what happens next?
Gotcha.
So the very first book, Damian Tyson is a character that I made up. It's funny because I was looking for names for the guy and I was like, I don't like that name. It took me almost 2 months to get his name. But I picked the name because I wanted him to be, cool guy, but I didn't want him to be so cool that everybody, just ran to him. I wanted him to be one of those kind of guys that because of his work ethics, he gets promoted and he does his job, but everybody don't like the fact when you get promoted and do your job.
It's always haters in the group. Nobody.
So the haters in the bunch, as everybody will learn to know, he calls the untouchables.
Okay.
And the untouchables are a group that they're finding out in Zip Code and Justice that they're running more than the department.
So let's back up though, Miss Nanette. So Damian Tyson is a corrections officer. He's a police officer.
He's a detective.
He's a detective. Okay, so Damian Tyson is a detective, and the untouchables are the others that are in his department.
They're in his department.
Okay,
right.
I gotcha.
Now, the first book that I put out with Damian Tyson in it was The Perfect Side Piece.
The Perfect Side Piece. Okay.
Everybody looks at that book and goes, "Oh my God, The Perfect Side Piece." But what they don't understand is she's the murderer in the book.
Oh wow.
And you find that out on page 1. So I'm not even telling you any of the story,
gotcha.
really.
So that's the first book, The Perfect Side Piece.
The first Damian Tyson book is The Perfect Side Piece. Well, from all that goes on in The Perfect Side Piece, he gets demoted, or he thinks it's a demotion, to the cold case unit.
Okay.
So now he's working in the cold case unit and he finds out that, hey, this unit is worse than any other unit. I got dumped.
Gotcha.
But what he got dumped to was information that the untouchables really didn't want him to get.
Right, because they've been able to do whatever they wanted.
They've been able to do all their dirt and dump it.
Okay, so let me press pause here for a minute because you've already told us that you've been a part of corrections for years. How much was your or has your experience as a corrections officer been like, infiltrated in the stories? Did that help with the writing of these stories?
It does help because a lot of what goes on in corrections is courtroom. They're there because of whatever crime.
Right.
They're housed according to the crimes.
Gotcha.
What you have to do with them as far as security is concerned and different things deals with the crimes.
Gotcha.
So a lot of the crime stuff I was already alerted to. I taught one of the classes I had to teach was New Jersey law.
Okay.
So a lot of times in the book, when they refer to certain things that they have to do, certain protocol that has to be followed, I'm following
Yeah,
that
because you know that.
that
Okay.
tone.
Gotcha. Okay. So Damien, the first one is the perfect side piece. And then after that story, he ends up being demoted to the cold case unit, and he realizes there's a lot of garbage that's been going on.
There's a whole lot of garbage. But in light of that, they not only transfer him to the cold case unit, they transfer his whole crew.
So is that this book or that another book?
Yes.
Okay.
That worked up under him. Everybody winds up being with him again. And they're trying to figure out, well, if you got in trouble, why did they move us?
Gotcha.
So they're not sure whether or not it was to uncover what was going on.
Okay.
Or if they don't realize that they would uncover what was going on.
Gotcha. So now he's in this cold case unit. He thinks that this is a demotion for him, but now he sees a lot of things that have been covered up. And so he's beginning to, I'm presuming, I don't want to say too much, to solve some of the cold cases. And he realizes
he has, not only that, he has to make reports.
Okay.
And in the reports, he has to indicate, hey, I don't have all the information for this, but it went to court.
Yeah.
Well, how did they lock the guy up?
Gotcha. Right. And
well,
then
what did they do?
Untouchables all through it.
And the reason for the story, the premise of this particular episode in Damien Tyson is to, I just got so fed up with people saying, the cops on the street do this and the cops on the street do that. And what they don't understand is you don't leave your unit without orders from someone.
Gotcha.
And it's not always, you can't go out. It's at any job. You can't do what your boss tells you not to do.
Yeah, exactly. I got
you have to follow through with whatever
right.
you're assigned to do. So if they tell you to go and arrest this person and they tell you they got all the records for this person to be arrested,
you don't question it. You just do it.
You don't question it. Yeah. You go and make the arrest. And if things get heated during the arrest, you're going to do what you have to do.
Gotcha.
Because you're there for that purpose. But what he finds out is a lot of it is not legit.
So tell me, okay, because we don't want to tell everybody everything because they got to buy the book, right?
Right.
But why the name, zip code, and justice? Is it because there's variance or detail?
Well, what I tell people, not in the language of the book, but in the language, my preference forward to the book, tells that we've been looking at crimes for the last 10, 15 years, 20 years, where we've said, why is it always in this neighborhood?
Gotcha.
Why is it always in, where the people that are on a lower level of living are?
Right.
What area is it? And what we find out in this book is it's according to the zip code.
Wow. Okay.
So when we look at it and you find out it's according to the zip code, what do the people in that area do? Well, most don't know that it's according to their zip code. They don't know that all the crimes are just in that area.
I got you.
Why are the cops always in this area?
Right.
Why are the cops always around this particular? It's not because all the crime is just there. There's crime everywhere.
Right.
But the thing about it is, in this particular book, it's been targeted.
Gotcha. Okay. So there's an emphasis placed based on the zip code. And so that's where they're going to that's where you're going to hear all the news from that zip code. You're going to hear all the action because there's an assignment for that particular zip code.
For that particular zone. And their reason for it. It comes up in the book to tell you, why they did it that way, what they're doing in that area, what money they may be making out of it. And it's all under the untouchables. And they call them the untouchables because a lot of them are in higher positions.
Gotcha.
So when you say, hey, we got to get rid of this, well, you can't get rid of it if you can't pull it from the root. And if the root is the judge, or the root is, the prosecutor,
right,
or the root is a lieutenant, what are you doing?
Yeah, I love it. I love it. Well, Miss Nanette, we're not going to talk anymore about the book because I'll start asking questions and then I'll ask so many questions that they won't have a reason to buy the book. So we're just going to press pause. But for anyone that want to get in touch with you regarding any or all of the books that you've written, IPEN, the podcast, or the magazine, NanetteMBuchanan.com is the website. Is that correct?
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
And then Zip Code and Justice is available now. Are your books available on Amazon or strictly from your website?
Yes, they are available in Kindle books as well as the paperback. Yep.
Okay. All right. Well,
Mhm.
great. I'm excited about this book. I'm gonna have Mom, I'm gonna have to order that one too. Well, I probably have to order the series for Mama because she'll be like, "Well, who is this name? Why do I feel like I've missed something?" Because she likes to read series. So I may have to get those two, that one, the before,
Mhm.
the perfect side piece with this one because it'll make more
And
sense.
just to let people know that's it. That I'm not doing any more series. I'm going to try not to let my mind roll into series. I love this series, so this
Yeah.
series will probably be ongoing.
All
But
right.
Family Secrets series, the Mintz family, they're ending with this last book, and I'm praying if I do another series, though, to be honest with you, Anissa, if I do another series, I'm thinking I want to do the young adult,
I was
a
gonna
little
ask you,
over
yeah,
teen.
because you've got a lot of children's books, and then you have
Yeah,
the novels, the
right,
reality
right. But
fiction,
I want to do that
and
in
young adult.
between, that tween age.
Yeah, will be great.
I want to get the tween
Yeah,
age.
we need
If I
something
do a series, I'm thinking of picking up a series in the tween
that
age.
would be good. That would be good
So,
for the family.
those going into high school, getting
Right,
out of high school,
right.
because I do have a lot of them that come and want to read books, and I'm like, how old are you? So I I'm thinking that might be my next, delve into that a little bit and see
Gotcha.
about doing a series there.
Gotcha. Well, that's not well, I'll know about it since I'm close to you. I'll find out about it. But I'm excited about the book that's coming out in December. I'm excited about the one that just was released last week, Damian Tyson. And then again, for those who are watching, we are with Miss Nanette Buchanan. She is the owner and founder of IPEN Publishing, IPEN.com. Well, is the podcast rather, and the publishing company, and her books can be found right here in Nanette M. Buchanan.com. Miss Nanette, as
Mhm.
always, it is a pleasure being in your space. I just absolutely love the work that you're doing. Like I said, when we met and I saw your magazine, I was like, this is really a classy magazine. And you was like, I'm just getting it started. I'm new to the area. I don't know
Yes,
anybody. I
yes.
said,
And
think of me.
and
I'm
and you know what? The
interested.
thing about it is, when you push a pause button, no matter what your reason for your pause is,
Yeah,
you have to, relight everything and redo everything. And COVID was a pause for
it
us.
was.
So when COVID hit, it was like almost like, oh my God, what are we going to do now? How
Yeah,
are we going to get it done? How are
yeah,
we going to do this? We don't have that communication. We don't have this. And I'm a person that likes to be, out.
yeah,
Let me go here, let me go there. And that got shut down. So
yeah,
my children books got delayed because I wanted to take it to libraries and schools, so they got delayed. And then the novels got delayed. And I was like, well, what am I going to do about the magazine? I can't print the magazine,
yeah,
you
right.
know? So learning things, and that's another thing for you authors that are out there. Don't be scared to learn new
Oh my
things.
gosh, you should never stop learning.
Don't
Even
don't don't be
right.
scared, because I didn't know the digital magazine world, but I
Yeah,
had to learn. I had to
exactly.
learn. So
Exactly.
don't be scared to venture into stuff,
Absolutely. Absolutely.
venture in,
Well,
venture in.
that's one of the things that COVID should have taught all of us is that the necessity to pivot. Because when we
Mhm.
got shut, you had to
Mhm.
keep living and you just had to figure out what the way to do it and do it different. And for those who chose not
Yes.
to, you found yourself behind the eight ball having to play catch up. But pivoting is very much a
Yes.
necessity of life. And
Yes.
so thank you for doing it with such grace and ease, despite all that you
I
had to face.
try. I
You're doing
try.
a great job. Don't ever discount yourself, Ms. Nanette. You are doing a phenomenal job. So thank you again for being our guest today. As shared, if you want to connect with our guest, go to her website, Nanette, M as in marvelous, Buchanan.com. And all of her books are there. You can be on her podcast and or her magazine. So look her up there. As always with us, if you're wanting more information about who we are and what we do, you know who we are. We're Chosen Pen. Conversations with Chosen Pen. If you want more information about our services, the Literary Awards celebration that's going to be coming up at the end of the year, go to chosenpen.com. All the information you need is there. As always, we thank you for joining us. We appreciate your support. Don't forget to like, comment, and share. Make sure you share because we're growing more and more. That's what we desire to do anyway in 2024. And we need and love and would appreciate your support. So on behalf of Dr. Norma McLaughlin and the entire Chosen Pen family, thank you for hanging out with us again today. And we look forward to seeing you again next week. Have a great day, everybody.